Hello, everyone. I want to be talking to you today about the brain and anxiety. So, what is going on in the brain when you are feeling anxious, right? So, before I dive into that, I'm going to give a little background on the brain. So, we have a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. And the left and the right sides of the brain process things differently, okay? The left side of the brain is what we call a serial processor. So when information comes in, it compares it to experiences you've had in the past, brings you to the present moment, and then projects whether this is safe or not safe, whether you should move forward or not, into the future. So it's what the scientists refer to as a serial processor, whereas the right hemisphere, the right side of the brain, is what they call a parallel processor, and it's very much in the moment, what you're seeing, smelling, feeling, experiencing, all about the present, moment. And now these two parts of the brain, these two halves of the brain, work together, right? And the brain is made up of cells. And the cells are made up of neurons. And these neurons work in clusters, right? So a neuron, I'm sure you guys have seen those scientific pictures of neurons with it's like a circle with the little squiggles coming out of it, right? And they communicate to each other. So there's groups of neurons that communicate in order for us to understand what people are saying. There are groups of neurons that work together so that you can speak and be understood. There are groups of neurons that work together that allow us to move our bodies in the way that we want to move our bodies. And how we experience anxiety is a result of how these neurons are communicating with each other. And the way that they are communicating with each other is dependent on your life's experiences. But the good news is that if you are someone that is dealing with a lot of anxiety and stress and physical manifestation of that, and also obviously the emotional manifestation of anxiety and stress, the good news is that the brain has has neuroplasticity, right? So that we can rewire our brain. Essentially, we can teach these neurons to communicate in a different manner, in a way that is going to make us feel better. And that's what it's all about. It's all about feeling good. And that's what it's all about. It's about feeling good and figuring out what makes you feel good. And there are tons of different modalities out there that can help you do that. As you guys know, I am super passionate about EFT tapping. I'm also really passionate about meditation and yoga. Those are, and Reiki, there's all sorts of different modalities that I love. But tapping is science-backed, which is part of the reason why I love it so much, because I can totally geek out on this science stuff with you. And I know that there's lots of you out there that are interested in that too, which is why I'm talking about it today. So when information comes into the brain, it is first coming in to what's called the limbic system. And the limbic system is the part of the brain that is that emotional and behavioral response, right? So it's a feeling. And then once it goes through that area of the brain, then it goes to the higher cerebral cortex, where you can where there's more thinking and analysis that goes on. And so as Jill Bolte Taylor eloquently said in one of the videos that I recently watched of her, we are feeling creatures who think. So we feel first, and then we think. And so we're learning how to rewire our brain so that we can feel better. That's what it's all about. So our brain can do three things. Our brain can think thoughts, our brain can feel emotions, and then our brain can have a physiological response to what we are feeling or thinking, right? So And I think everyone can relate to that or understand that. So when you think of something that makes you happy, there's a feeling of like, that feels good. That memory makes me feel good. Same thing when you think about something that maybe you're nervous about or a fear. What happens? That cortisol starts to pump through your body, right? So when the information is coming into the brain, going into that limbic system, part of the limbic system is the amygdala, and the amygdala is that part of your brain that controls the fight or flight response. And so when the amygdala thinks that you're in danger, right? It's there to protect you. It starts pumping cortisol into your body, and then that feeling of panic can start to wash over you. Now, with EFT, all you need to do is start tapping on the points, tapping and breathing. It can be as simple as that. Tapping and breathing. It can really be as simple as that. And then from there, what is happening is that those tapping on those points is sending a message to the amygdala saying, hey, you don't need to be in fight or flight. And it has been scientifically shown that it reduces the amount of cortisol that's being pumped through the body by up to 40%. I want to say that again. When you're tapping on these points, a message is being sent to the amygdala, and it's reducing the amount of cortisol that's being pumped through the body by up to 40%. And when you are feeling anxious, that cortisol is rushing through your body. So this is a simple, effective tool to help you reduce the cortisol in your body. And when you reduce the cortisol in the body, while also simultaneously acknowledging how you're feeling, observing what's going on, right? Maybe not getting so wrapped up in it, but observing the feelings that you're having, like, oh, I'm feeling really stressed out right now. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to tap and I'm going to breathe. Give it 90 seconds and your body will be able to go through the cycle and let it go. Okay? That's powerful stuff. That's powerful, powerful stuff, because all you need to do is be aware, tap, and breathe. And beautiful things can happen. You can start to feel calmer. And the more that you practice this, the easier that it gets. So, when we're in situations where you're dealing with a lot of anxiety, it makes me think of like, a pipe that's about to burst, or like a volcano that's about to burst, right? So we can each tolerate a different level of overwhelm and stress before you get to that point where it's like the floodgates open, right? So observing where you're at, right? How much overwhelm or stress does it take for you to get to that point where you start to feel that overwhelm and feel that stress physically in your body? For some people, it's something little that can set you off, that can trigger you. For other people, it can be longer. It can be multiple things, or that stack on top of each other before you get to that point. But with tapping, it's allowing yourself to acknowledge what's going on, tap on the feeling, the sensation, and breathe, and it's going to quickly reduce how you're feeling in the moment. So I hope that information is helpful. If you want to learn more about the specific tapping points, I have lots of videos on here, and go check them out or send me a message. I'd be happy to chat with you. Hope you guys are having a great day. Talk to you later.